If you enjoy epic tales of adventure, as well as some mysteries and riddles and some romance, and certainly some great wordplay, then today's book just might be for you. Today, I'll be reviewing Pericles, Prince of Tyre by William Shakespeare. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and today we're taking a look at certainly one of Shakespeare's lesser-known plays. It is one of his Jacobean plays, which means that it comes a little later in his career. There's a lot of questions about when exactly it was written, and also what are some of the sources and inspirations for it, and what some of the other things that came out at the time. It's kind of hard to determine, was it being influenced by Shakespeare or was Shakespeare being influenced by it? And that is, of course, something that we'll discuss after we dig into an act-by-act summary of this play. The play actually starts out with Gower acting as a poet and the chorus of the play introducing us to the characters and the setting. And so the play opens with a dark revelation that King Antiochus is having a very inappropriate relationship with his daughter, and he is actually going to try and hide it with a deadly riddle that will result in anyone that can figure it out, or any of the suitors being killed if they answer incorrectly. So there is a bit of a catch-22 here. Prince Pericles of Tyre, our hero and the main character of the play, he actually solves the riddle, but realizes that now that he has solved it, that is putting him in just as much danger if he couldn't figure it out. So he is going to ask for an additional, I think, 40 days to solve it, but in so doing, he really is just going to escape Tyre, which is going to lead him on to this very dangerous and very high stakes adventure. In Act 2, while he is on the run, Pericles is going to find himself in Tarsus, where he begins relief to a famine-stricken city. But his troubles don't end there. Still pursued, he sets sail again, but suffers a shipwreck, eventually washing ashore in Pentapolis. Here he hears of a jousting contest to win the hand of Princess Thaisa, the daughter of King Simonides. With the help of some fishermen, Pericles enters the contest. He wins and marries Thaisa. It's a happy moment in the play before the inevitable tragedy Shakespeare loves to throw our way. In Act 3, on their return to Tyre, another storm strikes and Thaisa appears to die, giving birth to their daughter Marina. Pericles, who is grief-stricken, casts her coffin overboard and takes Marina to Tarsus, leaving her with Cleon and his wife Dionysa while he returns to Tyre. But all is not lost. Thasia's coffin washes up on the shores of Ephesus, where a doctor revives her. Believing her family to be lost, she dedicates herself to the goddess Diana. I will say that this is one of Shakespeare's more dramatic twists, especially for a play that is not a total fantasy in the way of some of his other plays, like Midsummer Night's Dream or something. This idea of reviving her is a little more intense in some of his other plays, although shipwrecks seem to be quite common in his plays. That brings us to Act 4, which is 15 years later, and one of the reasons why it is suspected that Shakespeare only wrote some of the later portions. We are going to see that Marina has grown up to be a beautiful young woman. Unfortunately, Dionysa is jealous of Marina's beauty, and so she plots to murder her, because sure, why not? And just as Marina is about to be killed, pirates kidnap her and take her to Mytilene, where she is sold to a brothel. But Marina uses her wit and virtue to avoid a grim fate, even convincing others to lead better lives. I would say that this is actually one of the more fascinating elements of the play, and I would strongly encourage you to read this portion. I find it actually quite humorous and inspirational. Meanwhile, Pericles returns to Tarsus only to find what he believes to be Marina's tomb. Devastated, he vows to live in sorrow and drift the seas once more until he eventually lands in Mytilene. There, the governor, who knows Marina's reputation, brings her to meet Pericles. And that brings us up for Act 5, which is this moment of great excitement. Pericles who initially does not recognize Marina, is overjoyed when he realizes it is his daughter. He then dreams of Diana, who instructs him to visit her temple in Ephesus, where he reunites with Thaisa, and the family is joyfully restored, and together they return to Tyre, and of course Gower closes the tale with a very fitting conclusion. Pericles is a unique piece in the Shakespearean collection. It was written around 1607 or 1608. It was first published in 1609, so it was not actually included in the first folio. It finally appeared in the third folio in 1664. It was probably added later, likely because it was a very popular play at the time, which is interesting because I would not say it is super popular anymore. Some scholars actually debate the authorship Some believe that Shakespeare may have only written the last act or two. Many think that the first half was actually probably written by George Wilkins, who was a pamphleteer and a playwright who created a prose version of Pericles that might have influenced, or like I said, might have been influenced by the play. It is hard to say which one came first. The story itself actually draws from two main sources. You have John Gower's Confessio Amantis, and that is what provides the tale of Apollonius of Tyre. And then you have Lawrence Twine's prose version, The Pattern of Painful Adventures, which also further fleshed out Gower's tale. And so in Pericles, we are going to have possibly two authors at work here and certainly some sources of inspiration. But again, what comes first, we're not always sure. Pericles may not be a straightforward play. And I mean, the critics over the years have had mixed feelings over this. Like I said, it seemed quite popular when it first came out, but some of the other playwrights, people like Ben Jonson, actually really mocked the popularity of it. They thought that it was a bit weird. Even more recently, certainly critics have not really focused in on this play as one of Shakespeare's best known plays. And like I said, the authorship is probably one of the reasons that makes it a little less popular as well. Structurally, it's very different. Not that the setting in antiquity is particularly unique. We actually have quite a few plays that do that. But in this case, the blending of and the interaction with antiquity is unique to this play, I would say. I would also say that it is, in many respects, a hidden gem for those who really enjoy adventure and mystery, which you don't always get quite in the same way in a Shakespearean play, although there is a lot of adventure. I would say that this is a different approach to it. I would say that it is definitely, in some ways, willing to push boundaries of the stage in terms of just how much it changes scenery and how dramatic some of the events are, but that didn't necessarily just stop Shakespeare. And of course, if you want a good explanation of that, the best place to go would be the prologue to Henry V, which I think to this day is one of the best explanations of what theater can be and how it should be used. So who is this play for? Well, you might enjoy Pericles if you are a fan of Shakespeare's romances like The Tempest or Cymbeline. In that case, you're likely to appreciate Pericles for, this adventurous spirit, the miraculous reunion, of course, that's a big part of this, and the blend of tragedy and comedy. All those things, if you appreciate those and you like the episodic storytelling that's really going on in here, then you could certainly enjoy this. It is Shakespeare, at least some of it is, and so you will enjoy the language. It is full, it is rich, it is fascinating. All of those things make this something you can enjoy. However, it is quite rare in terms of performance, being read in schools, or just drawing people's interest. And the fact that the authorship is debatable, all these things make it a bit of a challenge to say that you should pick this one up if you're looking for a new Shakespeare. But if those elements of it are not important to you, then this is certainly going to be one of his plays that you could enjoy and appreciate the fact that it is a little more obscure. So who is it not for? Well, if you're not a fan of Shakespeare's more experimental plays, yeah, you're probably not going to like this one. I mean, Pericles can feel disjointed, especially with the abrupt transitions between scenes, and again, that episodic structure. It lacks the cohesive and tightly woven plot found in some of Shakespeare's more famous tragedies and comedies. And so if you're looking for classic Shakespearean soliloquies or depths and explorations similar to, say, Hamlet or Macbeth, this may leave you wanting. And there's just parts of the text that can feel a bit clumsy or unclear at times. So all of that may make it a little frustrating for you, even if you are a fan of Shakespeare. And then, of course, if you're not a fan of Shakespeare, you're probably not going to like this play. There are some great quotes in here that I just want to mention real quick, that they may not be his most famous quotes, but as usual, these are just a sign of how engaging they can be. For example, few love to hear this sentence, they love to act. That's so true. Opinion's but a fool that makes us scan the outward habit by the inward man. 'Tis time to fear when tyrants seem to kiss. I love that one. I think that one's spot on. Who has a book of all that monarchs do? He's more secure to keep it shut than shown. Prince, pardon me or strike me, if you please. I cannot be much lower than my knees. I love that one. Here, I'm laying it all before you. I can't do anything else. Just make a choice. One sin I know, another doth provoke. Murder's as near to lust as flame to smoke. Those are just some of the good quotes that stuck out to me as I was reading the play. I will say you probably don't recognize any of them. It is not a super well-known play. But that being said, I still think that it is enjoyable for anyone that is looking for just some Shakespeare. Of course, let me know what you think. Please let me know in the comments your thoughts on this play. If you've read it, or if you've not read it and you're now curious about reading it, please let me know. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and until next time, keep those pages turning.